Welcome back. You're watching Overdrive. The C-Class has been the bread and butter for the three-pointed star, not just in India, but across the world. Mercedes-Benz promised that this time the product update wouldn't be a mere facelift or an engine tweak. They promised an all-new C-Class. So Rohit went to Germany to find out how much of a generation change the new C-Class really is.
Now, if you look at different generations of the C-Class, you will notice that each and every one of them has been instrumental in establishing a new design philosophy for every other Mercedes-Benz car of that generation to follow. Despite that, every C-Class has had its own distinctive design that made sure that it looked like none other from the Mercedes-Benz lineup. Things, however, have changed because what you see next to me and what looks like a baby S-Class is actually the new W205 C-Class. Having a design that is similar to the granddaddy of luxury cars is a good thing. There are, however, a couple of problems. The taillights look great, but the tailgate doesn't appear as grand as the posterior of the S-Class. In fact, it ends up looking like a Me Too job. The face, especially on the executive trim, featuring the large chrome-plated 3-slat aero grille, looks too grown-up for a sports sedan. But that said, the car still has the classic C-Class silhouette. Long nose, pull-back cabin and a stubby boot. Out of the three trims that the C-Class will be sold in, we expect the Avantgarde and the AMG lines to come to India. We won't be surprised though if a watered-down executive trim is offered too in order to replace the elegance trim that is seen on the current model. You see, the C-Class doesn't look aggressive anymore, and perhaps that is justified, because this car is not the entry-level sedan for Mercedes-Benz anymore. The more youthful-looking CLA has the job of attracting new customers to the brand. The C-Class, however, looks a lot more sophisticated, it's more sober, it's more matured, and that should continue to work for this car. Overall, the interiors of the C-Class are a big improvement. They frankly look like nothing else from the Mercedes-Benz lineup right now, apart from the S-Class, of course. The speakers, the switches, they seem that they've come out of the S-Class, and it just makes for a very good design, a very nice place to be in. If you ask me, I think this particular design for the interiors is the best in class right now. Now, on this particular drive in France, we have sampled three different variants of the C-Class. We have two diesels, that's the C220 and the C250, and there's one petrol, that's the C250 again. Now let's talk about the C250 diesel first, because that's the one I'm driving right now. It's a 2.2 litre motor, produces about 204 PS of power and 500 Newton meters of torque. Essentially the same engine that we get in India as well. However, this one has been tuned for better fuel economy and better drivability than what we had in the W204. The C220, that also gets a 2.2 litre motor. It produces about 170 PS of power and 400 Newton meters of torque. Needless to say, out of the two, the C250 feels better to drive. Both the engines come mated to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. The transmission is quite quick, and upshifts are also much better than what we had in the W204. Downshifts, well, it takes a little bit longer is what I feel. But overall, I think it's a very good gearbox for your everyday commutes on the highway or in the city. I think it does a very good job. In terms of fuel economy, which is an improvement over the W204, these vehicles, the 250 and the 220 diesels, claim about 25 kilometers to a litre. How much that translates to in the real world though is something that we'll have to wait and watch in our road test, but that is still some time away because the right-hand drive version of the C-Class has still not been built. So early 2015 or mid 2015 is a safe bet to expect the C-Class in India. Moving on to the petrol engine, the C250 is powered by a 2-litre petrol engine. It's an inline 4-cylinder engine and produces about 211 PS of power and 350 Newton meters of torque. Compared to the diesel, of course, it's the more sprightly motor, revs quite well, revs quite high, and feels much better to drive overall because it's a lighter engine. The car feels more agile when you're pushing it around bends. In terms of acceleration, both the C250 diesel and the C250 petrol claim to move from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 6.6 seconds. Also new to the C-Class is this Agility Select. It is a small switch on the center console which lets you cycle through different modes. There's Eco, there's Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus. And selecting these modes or cycling through these modes will make different changes to the vehicle dynamics. The suspension will have a different setup altogether depending on what mode you're selecting. There'll be a change in the way the engine behaves, in the acceleration, the throttle response, even for the gearbox. The shift points make a difference depending on what mode you're driving in. But even in the top of the line Sport Plus mode, which is out and out handling package frankly for this car, the ride quality is still quite good. The new W205 C-Class employs a new suspension setup altogether, and let me tell you straight up, it's a significant improvement over the older 204. To begin with, the ride quality has improved by leaps and bounds. I mean, even in France, you expect the roads to be smooth, but let me tell you, they are not. In fact, I can go ahead and say some of the sections are as bumpy as what you would see in India, and driving the car on those roads, I can tell you the ride quality has improved. Even in terms of handling dynamics, there's a big improvement. The older 204 had that fidgety nature, the new 205 doesn't. As I mentioned earlier, the petrol version has good ride quality, but the C250 diesel feels better. It is to do with the suspension tuning, of course, and the weight of the engine. The tire sizes and the wheel sizes are exactly the same. Now, to be able to get this sort of handling, you will also need to sign up for the Airmatic. Now, the Airmatic is an optional extra for the C-Class. But when it comes to India, I hope and I expect the Airmatic to be a standard feature, because that would just make it easier for Mercedes-Benz to tune the vehicle for the Indian road conditions. Instead of redoing an entire setup, I think it would be easier for them to just retune the electro-hydraulic system that the Airmatic is. So Mercedes-Benz has transformed the C-Class into something else. It's more luxurious, follows a new design direction, and it has got features and technology that will literally send its competition back to the drawing board. But that also means that all this will come at a price. Add to it the fact that this C-Class in India will have to create space on the price charts for the CLA sedan. So in a nutshell, the W205 C-Class could end up being pricier than the outgoing model. But from whatever we have seen and driven here, I think it will be able to justify its price tag.